Welcome back to another episode of the Pink Mic Club with me, your host, Amy, and we're actually going to do a throwback review. I'm actually going to review Selena Gomez's first album, or I should say Selena Gomez The Scene, because that's like the band that she was part of. And so I am going to review the first ever album that she put out, and I'm going to just talk a little bit about how I became a Selena Gomez fan and all that stuff. So I'm actually Canadian, and in Canada at the time, when I was like really young, I was like, I don't know, a preteen or a teen, there was no such thing as, there was no such thing as Disney Channel in Canada. It was, everybody who's Canadian knows about Family Channel. It was Family Channel, and they had the rights to like most Disney shows and like a couple Nickelodeon shows, surprisingly, but YTV in Canada is the one that got the rights to most of the Nickelodeon shows. And so, sometimes on Family Channel, like I think they also did that on Disney Channel, but I don't know, I never really watched Disney Channel too much unless I was in the States. But they would kind of like, because Family Channel didn't really run ads, they only started running ads later on. So typically what they would do is they would play like an entire show through, and then like the last, whatever remaining minutes were left, at the end of a show, before like the next show started, to even out the half hour, they would, I think, play like promos for like other shows that were on their network, because they eventually did start producing their own shows, as well as they would play sometimes music videos, not full music videos I don't think, but they played like a decent amount. Maybe they did play full music videos. They play music videos. And so I remember seeing the Naturally music video for Selena Gomez. And I remember buying the CD. Well, it was with my dad, and my dad got it for me along with the Justin Bieber CD, because like I was totally into Justin Bieber then. I'm not anymore. I haven't followed Justin Bieber for years. But yeah, so I remember watching Wizards of Waverly Place, which was my favorite Disney Channel show, top tier, and they're bringing it back. I think it's Wizards Beyond Waverly Place. So I think that should be interesting. And so I remember like kind of being a fan of her music, and because I was a fan of her on Disney Channel, and was the way it really plays, it was like just natural that I would become a fan of her music, and I just really enjoyed it. I think it was like really good music at the time, and I think it was good for her target audience, which was obviously Disney Channel, kids, because she was signed to Hollywood Records, which was owned by Disney Channel. And Hollywood Records does sign artists that aren't affiliated with Disney, but I think Hollywood Records is really their way to kind of have, because ideally, I believe when they were signing, lead actresses, and I think lead actors, but mainly lead actresses for TV shows, they wanted them to be like triple threats. And so it's like you had to be able to dance kind of, but you had to act and you had to sing. That was for a certain something. And so they would sign you to Hollywood Records. And Hollywood Records was kind of like, it was owned by Disney, but its goal was to kind of make you sort of independent, where like, in a way, like you were a Disney actor, so you probably had to like follow like the strict rules and things like that, especially when it came to music. But it was a way for you to also be like marketed independently and marketed as an artist who's also an actress, like kind of like separate but together. And it was probably a way for Disney to just accrue more money and to push more of like the stardom, and like to make you more of like a pop star and make you like relevant in all aspects. And so like with Disney Channel and Hollywood Records, you got artists like Selena Gomez, as well as Demi Lovato and Miley Cyrus, and also who have become more recently famous, Sabrina Carpenter. Sabrina Carpenter is who I did my first episode on, reviewing her latest album, Short and Sweet. And I say more recently because Sabrina Carpenter has been around for a while, singing, and mainly with Hollywood Records. But when she left Hollywood Records, she sort of started to slowly become more of a pop star, a true pop star, and she's definitely one now. There's no doubts about it. So I wanted to listen to Selena Gomez, or Selena Gomez The Scene's first album, Kiss and Tell. Now, when she was signing with Hollywood Records, supposedly, you know, the other things I read on Wikipedia like years ago, so supposedly, I think Hollywood Records really wanted her to be a solo artist and wanted to market her as such, but I think she really wanted to be different and wanted to stand out, and I think she wanted to do her own thing. She was young, and I think she was young and kind of always wanted to do some unique things, and so she wanted to do a band, and I believe she was going to like create the band and go by the scene. But some reports say like mistakes happened when they were naming, like when Hollywood Records and her were naming, which I feel like isn't the case, because I feel like that would be easily fixable and definitely wouldn't be a thing. I think when she was given the record deal, I think Hollywood Records was like, we understand that you want to have a band. We just don't think it will be marketable. We need to market you with your name since you already have Disney Channel fame. And so I think what they did was like, you can have a band, it's great, but we're going to put your name first and then they're going to come second. And that way you can say like you're a part of a band and you have a band, but we're basically marketing just you. And that's how the marketing went for like all the albums. It was just her, which was unfortunate. Like there'd be a few promo photos in the gatefolds of the album that had her band in it, but it was mainly just her. And I was always confused by that. I'm like, if you're gonna have a band, girl, like have them on the cover. But the more I think about it now, and the more I realize like record labels have a ton of control over so much now. So much that like artists have said like that they won't be allowed to make music videos for songs unless the song goes viral on TikTok or whatever. Like record labels would do that. That I'm really thinking record labels just wouldn't let her put her band on the cover. Because there are some great photos like spliced in to some of the gatefold of the albums. And so, yeah, I think it was really just sort of, she wanted to be different. She didn't want to be just a Disney Channel actress turned singer. I think she really wanted to be a true artist and create something. And she thought the most unique way to do that in the Disney Channel outlet, or in the Disney, not Disney Channel, but just the Disney outlet in general, was to create a band. And then I think, unfortunately, Hollywood Records, owned by Disney, was like, we really want to market you. You're the most marketable part of all of this. And that's because, like, that's the main part of a record label, right? It's to give funding for things, but, like, mainly to market you so that your album sells and they make money off that. And so it was definitely and it was definitely better for them, honestly. But I think it would have been cool had Selena Gomez just been The Scene, but I think I understand where they're coming from, and I think her career may not have blossomed, her music career may not have blossomed as much had she just been The Scene. And so eventually, she released 3 albums under Selena Gomez in The Scene, and then she dropped The Scene, I think, as she was leaving, she was kind of leaving Disney Channel, and so she wanted to mature some more, but still had her contract with Hollywood Records, so there's a couple ways it works. I think sometimes people sign contracts with record labels depending on years, and some sign album requirement contracts. So some it's like after a certain amount of years your contract is over, and for some it's a certain amount of albums you have to turn in. And then, so that can be however long. It can be 10 years. It can be 5 years. If your contract is 5 albums and you release one a year, it could be 5 years. If you release one every 2 years, you could be 10 years in the contract. So, so I think for her with Hollywood Records, it was an album contract where she had to produce a certain number of albums, because she did 3 under Selena Gomez in The Scene. And then she put out Stars Dance, with the first single being Come and Get It. And it was definitely much more mature for Selena. And it was definitely kind of showing that she is departing from the Disney Channel image. I think it was also probably close to the era when she did Spring Breakers movie, which was, again, a really big departure from the Disney Channel era. And then after she did Stars Dance, she released a compilation album. I think it was called For You. I know it was one of the singles that came off it. For You, I think, or was it Do It? But she released 2 singles, and then one where they did a remix of a older song from the Latina artist Selena, who she's named after, where she featured on it. I think Selena's family had approved that Selena come in and record some vocals and then it'd be put on a Selena song. And so that was on there as well. And I believe that album, that compilation album, which had a couple remixes of already released songs, was put out to fulfill her album contract. So technically it was an album. She could say she fulfilled her contract because I don't think she wanted to actually produce a whole another brand new album with Hollywood Records. I think, as we can tell, because she went to Republic Records. She went to Interscope Records not too long afterwards, that I really think she wanted to move to a different label that was going to give her more freedom, that was going to allow her to have more involvement in her music producing and writing, like with Revival, which was the first album she put out with Interscope. She worked with people like Julia Michaels and Justin Tranter, if I'm remembering his last name correctly. And she's continued to collaborate with them on future work, with her latest album being Rare. And then she also did do a short EP in Spanish, Revelación, which I'm going to say she didn't work with Julia Michaels or Justin Tranter on that, but I could totally be wrong. I feel like she would switch, obviously. But she worked with him on Rare. Lose You Love Me. Rare is like her best album. There's no doubt about it. It's my favorite album from hers. And so I definitely think she wanted more control over lyrics and things like that, and wanted to be more involved. And I think she wanted to take situations she'd been through, such as Lose You Love Me, and create music from that. I think she wanted to make her songs more relatable to people. And I think making your songs more relatable sometimes is by relating your own situation, your own heartache you've been through, and that creates a sense of relatability versus to something that was written by somebody else and you had no control over anything. So she got that with Interscope, although a lot of her fans, I think during the Revival era, were kind of upset. I don't think they liked the promoting or the lack of promoting that they believe was happening with Interscope Records. I think she's at a place right now. Musically, she's not at all on the same level as Taylor Swift, in the sense of like people of breaking records, tours and things like that. But that's okay. I think she's still a great musical artist. But overall, she is a celebrity that's on the same caliber. I mean, I believe, I don't know who broke it, if it was Forbes or something, who broke that she's actually worth more than Taylor Swift because of Rare Beauty, which is, I think, been her biggest success outside of acting and music is Rare Beauty, 100%. So it made her valuation at $1.3 billion and Taylor Swift to the $1.1 billion. But I wanted to review her first album, Kiss and Tell, when she was then going by Selena Gomez The Scene, because I have sometimes I play this radio station on Apple Music. It's like Amy's station, and it's like one that's dedicated for me. And so it was like, a lot of the songs on there, I'm just like, not for me. But I go through it to find like the one song that's gonna like hit, and I happened to be like skipping through it, and there was one from the Kiss and Tell album, and I was like, I should listen to this like whole album. So I figured, why not do that? Why not listen to the whole album and then kind of give my review as I'm listening to it. So obviously I can't play the album on here because this is indeed a podcast, and this is a self-produced podcast with no budget, which means that I don't have the budget to get copyright to play any of these songs, which means get copyright approval to play any of these songs on the podcast. So that's a disappointing thing, that like in these music review podcasts that there's like a whole copyright process, because like I would love to be able to review these while playing the songs on the podcast, but it's just like not something feasible I could do now or probably ever do. But anyway, The album is Kiss and Tell. It has 13 songs and it is 42 minutes long. So I don't know if I'll like skip through parts of songs just to like make it quicker. Because obviously 42 minutes long is pretty long, and I don't know if you guys will be interested in being here that long. We're already at the 15-minute mark, so I might just like kind of listen to some quickly and then kind of give my opinion. But yeah, so we'll start. So by the way, I'm going to talk about the album cover. I think the album cover is actually quite great. Again, it's very of its time, but I think it just encompasses and kind of lives in the time that it came out in, which is in 2009. I think the album cover is great. I know there's variations of the album cover, which I should look on Google because I know the other variations are great as well. But I like the heart-shaped lip. I just like the fonts that were used, and I think the layout of the album. I think it's a very fun and creative album cover, and I think sometimes we lack that in album covers now because they're like these weird, like just like average photos. And I also miss album. I feel like so many album covers don't have any wording on them anymore. They're just like a photo, and I'm like, where's the wording? That's like another creative part of the album cover. So we are going to listen to Kiss and Tell, the first album by Selena Gomez The Scene, and the first song is Kiss and Tell. Please. Don't be disappointed. I hope. Sorry for the silence. I feel like Kiss and Tell, so I'm talking about the song itself, the first song on the album, it kind of gives me like Avril Lavigne vibes, like sort of what we're seeing from like Olivia Rodrigo now. Like it sort of has that kind of same genre vibes. And I definitely think it's like a punch song that gets you like really into the album. You can tell her vocal that she is young there, and she is quite young. You can hear that, but the intro just really gets you in. It gives you like a boost of energy. Like it's got a lot of like energy in it, and I think you can just tell that. And I think it's a great intro to the album because you can kind of have like slow start intros, which can be good, but I think sometimes like a heavy energy punch in like a wake up in the face sort of song can be great to get you into an album and to just like throw you right in like the deep end, you know? My phone be glitching. It's taking a while to play the song. Kiss and tell everything I said, stuck inside your little web. Everybody wants to know. Yeah. Kiss. It is totally like Avril Lavigne vibes. Like it's not close to Avril Lavigne at all, but it's in the same genre, which I believe is pop rock. I'm really bad at knowing that. I always get confused. I'm like, is it pop rock? I kind of feel like it's pop rock, and I mean, it's definitely more pop than anything rock, but it's like kind of in that same vibe. And I think it was sort of like a very popular sort of genre at the time. I think it's kind of getting back popularity, but it's a genre now that tends to find its popularity with artists that have already been established and are artists from that era, like from 2009. Like the pop rock artists from 2009, I think, are what are still fueling that genre today. In the sense of like they're still what's making the genre what it is today. And obviously you have new artists like Olivia Rodrigo who are adding to it, but it's still very much being fueled by people who still enjoy Avril Lavigne and are really into that, and really into Avril Lavigne and whatever she puts out next. And then as well artists like which I don't know much on them, but like Paramore, a lot of people like Paramore, and I think they're still kind of like fueling it and stuff like that. So But I think this song is a great intro to the album. I think sometimes I like it when you're just like thrown right in and there's no like slow start to the album. I think it's fun because it just like makes you excited for like what's next in the album. So I think Kiss and Tell is that perfect intro. Did I skip too far? No. So the next song is I Won't Apologize, which I think is a little bit slower if I'm remembering correctly, but I could totally be wrong. Yeah, it's definitely slightly slower pace and a little bit not as heavy in energy as Kiss and Tell is. But again, I still get that Avril Lavigne inspiration. I think that's where they maybe wanted to position her Hollywood Records pop, but like slightly rock. I'm sorry for changing. I'm sorry to be this way. Leave me for to pretend. She is credited as a writer on this. Interesting. I find that very interesting that she's credited as a writer. Oh, Falling Down is one of my favorites, I think, on the album. 100%. Walk and talk like you're some new sensation. You move in circles, you don't need an invitation. You spend your money, you can get no satisfaction. You play it right so you can get the right reaction. It won't be long, my darling. Pick up the phone. Nobody wants to hear my atrocious singing. I'm sorry. This is just me trying to tell you where I'm at and listening to the songs because I can't play them on here. But the more I think about this album and the more I think about like it's totally Avril Lavigne vibes in that same genre. And I think it fit her so well at the time. Like I think now the genre wouldn't work for Selena, but I think when she was young, had young vocals, I think this was like perfect for her. And I think the heavy bass and the everything like that allowed it fit better with the theme of her being a singer with a band that was being promoted, Selena Gomez and The Scene. So, okay, next is I Promise You, which is definitely a much slower song, and I believe it was always kind of a skip for me. Yeah, totally a skip. Because I don't remember it as well as the other ones. Yeah, it's okay, this one. It's not my favorite. Like, again, I'm saying it is totally a skip. Like, I don't remember it that well. Yeah, this one just, I think I kind of always just generally skipped it because honestly, I'm not even like it doesn't. It's not even one of those like that like sounds familiar. I mean, it sounds familiar. So it's like I can tell it's Selena Gomez. Like her vocals sound familiar, but the song itself doesn't sound overly familiar. Which by the way, the song is "I Promise You," in case I didn't already mention it. So it was definitely one that I probably listened to a few times, but in general skipped, which would like totally make sense. So I'm gonna skip because I'm not listening to the entirety of all the songs, because again that would make the podcast too long. So Crush. Now I think Crush was one of those that I sometimes skipped, sometimes didn't. It just depended the day. Yeah, I skipped it sometimes, and now I think I didn't skip it sometimes, but I won't skip it today. Yeah, this was, I can say so far this album is quite cohesive, and I think that's quite good for a first album from an artist being turned out by Disney, who doesn't have a ton of creative control. And you could definitely see a mishmash of things happening where they're really wanting to put out what all kinds of songs that I think would be hit songs. And it's not necessarily about creating a cohesiveness, but the cohesiveness. Oh wow, I said that really wrong. Sorry, the song is just really loud in my ear and making me not think properly. But you can really tell the cohesiveness throughout this album. Um, I'm in song 5 of 13, so I know it's just like I'm only 5 songs in. I'm not even halfway yet, but I'm actually surprised at how cohesive this was, because I wouldn't expect it to be. I would expect it to be just like a mishmash of things of what Hollywood Records, aka Disney Channel, what thought would be like popular, what songs would be like the most popular, and just kind of collect that and make an album. And so I definitely like that. I don't know if she was, because she was working with a minimal amount of producers on it, or she was just like they stuck her with like one who did all the production. I don't really know. There's a variety of writers on here, and I was surprised to see her credited on one song, but as a writer on one song. So I'm actually impressed by that, and I think it elevates this album a little bit more in my mind the more I think about it, because I've never really like analyzed this album in like a way of review, because I just like never thought to do it, and I don't think like even just like the spur of the moment idea to review this album, I didn't think like, oh, should I do it? Because like it doesn't feel like it's an album that like people would respect or even think to review. But I think you should, because it's an album, and I think it's got music, and it's from a popular, and it's got good music from a popular artist, and I think it's worth reviewing. It's just a normal album like anybody else, even though it was turned out by Disney. It's still an album. So After Crush is song number 6, which is Naturally, which is the first song I was ever heard from Selena Gomez, and what introduced me to the album. And it's like, it's pretty cool. How you choose to express yourself, it's all your own, and I can't tell it comes naturally. It comes naturally. Naturally. It comes naturally. Don't listen to me sing, I'm awful, I'm aware. 'Cause my breath away. What you do so naturally. I would definitely say in the verse and the pre-chorus in this song, compared to the first 5 songs, you've got softer vocals from her. Now, I have no idea if there's been auto-tuning on any of these. I know a lot of people like to say Selena Gomez is not, not a great vocalist, and can't sing, and like she can. I think she can just suffer from, which some artists can and some artists don't. Unfortunately, she suffers from, if her in-ear isn't working properly and isn't at the right tune, then she sings out of tune, and yeah, which I think any artist can suffer from, because I know in-ears are pretty vital. But she's not like the best vocalist in the world, but she can sing 100%. I don't think Disney Channel would have offered her a deal with Hollywood Records had she been like completely unable to sing, just because I think that would have been bad PR, because it would have come out at some point, her true inability to sing, had that been the case. I think she's just not the best, 100% best vocalist, but she can sing. She can sing for sure. Just like me, I'm a huge Swiftie, and I will admit that Taylor Swift is not the best vocalist out there, but she can sing quite well. But you know, there are other better vocalists out there, such as Adele, who have these amazing vocals live. And there are some artists, I think there are very few, but there are some artists where it's great when you can, what they sing live is really the same of the album recording. But so I don't know if there's like auto-tune or any of this, but you definitely hear softer vocals in the verse and pre-chorus for Naturally. So the next song after Naturally is The Way I Loved You, which may have also been a skip for me. I don't remember. So let's play it and see. I love it. My phone's not working properly. Okay, yeah, this is like the really, really, really slow one. And definitely a skip for me all the time. I'm pretty sure it was. Um, I was going to sing it. I was like, oh, I should sing it so you know what part of the song I'm at. But I don't listen to that. This was kind of always a skip for me, so I can't really sing it because I don't really know what's coming up next. It's a little bit slow. I think it's a little. I mean, so like every album has to ideally have a slow song. Like, doesn't have to, but it kind of tends to be on every album. There's going to be a slow song. And I think this album could have done without one. Honestly, I say that because it has such a cohesive theme throughout the first 5 songs that I don't think it needed this slow song for song number, what are we? Song number, 7. I just don't literally think it needed this in the album. Like, it makes sense, right? Because having a slow song, it's just part of an album production, but I just think it could have done without it, and it doesn't fit as well in the album. So now I'm starting to realize maybe it's not 100% cohesion, but there is a decent amount. Like, I'm not going to say the album isn't cohesive because, like, one song just, like, in my opinion, doesn't work. I think that's not fair because I think it being a slow song just makes sense because, like, most albums have a slow song. But I think it, it's not in the theme of the album. Next is song number 8, which is More. My phone is doing this weird thing where it's taking forever to play the song, so I want more. I want more. Yeah, 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 yeah. Friday night and we're just talking. Stars are crashing in. See, this one has a slower pace to it, but to me it's not a slow song because it doesn't have like the more instrumental aspects that The Way I Loved You does, but it's still like a slow song in its pace. But so I think this, I know the bridge probably gets more upbeat. Like, again, I'm not really remembering these 100%, so maybe I'll let myself get to the chorus. But it's not like, I think this one is a better version of a slow song for this album than The Way I Loved You, but I also understand why The Way I Loved You is in there because it's more stereotypical for a slow song. All the way 101% touchdown. We're gonna kill it. We're gonna take this town. Let's go. What you wanna wait for? Let's take everything you asked for. I want to turn it up. And want more, more, more. So yeah, it definitely gets higher paced in the chorus, which I guess cuts it being a slow song. But I think the beginning was the first verse. Was it be more slower paced? I think it just fits better in the cohesiveness of the album to be like kind of a slow song, but then not quite. So the next one after Morris, As a Blonde. I used to like that one a lot. It was like a really fun one. I don't know what to compare it to, but it has like a vibe, which like, I don't know. Like, in the mirror, trying to find a new reflection, want to take the. It's just like, again, this one too, I think could have been a great intro. Like, I think a great intro. I think Kiss and Tell slightly better because it doesn't throw you right into the vocal. It just throws you right into a high energy, high energy production. But I think As a Blonde has the same kind of high energy vibe to it that I totally think it could have made a great intro. Like, it could be interchanged, but I'm not saying that Kiss and Tell isn't a good intro. It is. I'm just saying this one is kind of like in the same vibe and would have given you like the boost of energy and the excitement for the album as well as Kiss and Tell did. So, hello song. Direction, make some new mistakes, forget the ones I made, caress some tears of joy, and dress more like a boy, and come back as a blonde, try even lipstick on, as a blonde, will get whatever I want. I'll be ever so enticing, kick a lot of ice, never have to watch my way out when I'm gone. I'm gonna come back as a blonde. Although Wild, I'm actually thinking about the lyric, never have to watch my weight. Like, that would totally not fly in a song today unless you were like talking about like a struggle you went through when it came to weight. But that would not fly, and I don't think Selena Gomez would ever sing a song with that kind of lyric. Like, she would definitely remove that line from a song. And I think if she were to do something like Taylor Swift and re-record, I don't know if she would re-record that line because I think it would be toxic. And I know Selena Gomez has gone through up and downs with her weight. And I think she's been vocal about that. And it's probably been a struggle because there's this societal belief that you have to be a certain size and have to look a certain way. And so I think never have to watch my weight. I don't think that would fly today. But of course she was singing at the time already written songs for her, right? With no sort of hand or help without giving a hand or help into the writing of the songs. And so I think she was sent these songs to record probably, and yeah, that's what happened. But I don't think it would fly for Selena Gomez today. And now the next one is the one that I mentioned that I listened to on a radio station that Apple Music curated for me, and it was I Don't Miss You at All. So that one, and I listened to that one. I was like, oh my goodness, I should just come back and totally listen to the whole album as a whole. And then I was like, oh wait, I should review it from a podcast. It doesn't hurt when I think of you, and all things we'll never get to do. I'm just singing so badly on purpose about the way we were. I tore up the pictures, crossed out all the words. Don't be fooled by all my tears, 'cause everything is fine, and you could pick up these. I never think about you. I'm better off without you. I don't miss you at all. Again, a common theme, not just being in the pop, so a light pop rock theme, is the energy of the songs. Like, I say energy because there's quite a few that are fast paced, and they kind of. I say energy because I think when you listen to a fast paced song, it just like it can make you feel a certain way and can make you feel like you've got like more energy to take on the world than you actually do. And I feel like you definitely get that vibe through some of these songs, and I think that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool that her first album is pretty cohesive. Honestly, I know I've said cohesive a lot, but that there's kind of like, that's not just a mishmash of different things, but that it feels like well produced is like pretty impressive for her first album. Next, because again, I'm not listening through the entire song because it would take way too long, is Stop and Erase. And I don't remember if this one too I would skip sometimes. So we shall see. No, I don't think I skipped this one. Okay, so you can see a, there's quite a few reoccurring writers, and I wonder if it's because Hollywood Records had writers on staff to produce. Yeah, so I wonder if Hollywood Records had writers on staff to write songs for their artists, right? Because basically you're taking people who want to become actors, right? That's the thing with Disney Channel. You're taking people that want to become actors, who have maybe already been actors in smaller roles and things like that, and you're telling them, okay, now you've got to also be a musician, right? And so it was less of like, here you go, we're giving you a deal, do your own thing. I think it was a lot more of like, here's the record deal, and we're gonna like do everything for you. We're gonna curate the songs you're gonna record, the producers you're gonna work with. I think it's the polar opposite of Taylor Swift, right? I'm not talking about Taylor Swift's debut album. I'm talking about how Taylor Swift just works currently, which she picks her producers for her songs. She writes her songs. She picks the album cover. She picks everything about it. Everything she curates. And then her record label just produce, like, I think gives them, I don't know how it works, but I imagine gives them money to produce the songs and the album, but also to they promote her. And I think record labels fund your tour potentially. I don't really know how that works. And so I think it's very different. It's like the opposite, where like Taylor Swift kind of like curates everything, whereas with I think Hollywood record artists at the time, and Selena Gomez, probably Miley Cyrus and Demi Lovato with their first albums with Hollywood Records, they didn't curate anything. It was just, this is what Hollywood Records is giving you, and this is what you're doing. I feel like that's the vibe, because it would make sense, right? Because probably Selena Gomez had no intention of becoming a musical artist until I don't know, but I feel like she wanted to be an actress more than a musical artist, and she wants that now too. She's mentioned that potentially she'll do one more album and then she's just going to focus on acting and beauty and philanthropy. And so I definitely think that it would make sense because of her age as well, that a lot of this was curated and made for her, and she would show up, record, do the promo photos, do the music videos, where probably somebody else chose the whole thing. There were directors, and again, and so I think with Stars Dance, she sort of got more creative control. I think she mentioned even with Stars Dance that she recorded more songs than before. I think because typically she recorded what went on the album with Kiss and Tell. Like, I don't know if she recorded more. And so I think, and then with future albums, especially with Interscope, she had way more control of who she worked with and things like that. So I think seeing the reoccurring songwriters on here, and knowing that she didn't have, like, reoccurring songwriters is not uncommon with people that write their own music, because often they will write with who they produce with. Like Taylor Swift will credit Jack Antonoff because they'll write together in the studio as they're producing the song. And so it makes, again, I don't know the ins and outs of Hollywood Records, but it definitely gives me the vibe that they're either on staff or they had like writer that they would feel comfortable going to and buying from. But because there you can become a songwriter and get a publishing deal where you're only a songwriter. I think it's harder now because there are a lot of artists that write their own music or want to. So I think you can tend to now. It's more probably common for songwriters to write with an artist, but there are still some that just write and sell and somebody gets it, you know? So I think that could be the case with Selena Gomez, where either Hollywood Records had writers on staff to write for their up-and-coming artists and to make sure that it was like Disney approved and part of the whole Disney image, or they had their writers that they liked to buy from that maybe weren't on staff for Hollywood Records, but they knew that they could trust that they were going to put out the music, they were going to write the lyrics that would upkeep the Disney image and would also become and create like successful songs for the artists, you know? So the next one is I Got You. Which definitely, again, I'm listening to the intro of I Got You. It is the 12th song. It definitely, again, has a slower pace. It's not a slow song, but it has a slower pace. Would have a crowd of 1,000 faces. Yeah, I found you. Ooh, I told the wise in the wind. Sometimes, again, this is the one that sometimes I would skip it, sometimes I wouldn't. I let you see me. You believe. Oh, Selena Gomez is a credited writer on this one. Very interesting. Well, you think you are the one that got me, boy. But I got you. I got you. Like, the bridge does definitely go up a bit in pace with, I think, her vocals. But I would say that this could have qualified again as a slow song on here and would have worked better than The Way I Loved You. I'm just saying. Now, I remember seeing the music video for Tell Me Something I Don't Know. And the music video, because I think she also made this song for a movie. But the music video production for the song, like the production for the song that was in the music video, different from the album production. And I liked the music video version better. And I still kind of do. But we'll listen to the album version. Tell me something I don't know. I'm not at that part of the song yet. I'm waiting for my phone to play it. Everybody tells me that it's so hard to make it, so hard to break it. There's no way to fake it. Everybody tells me that it's wrong what I'm feeling. I shouldn't believe in the dreams that I'm dreaming. I hear it every time. I hear it all the time. I'm never gonna amount to much, but I'm never gonna change my mind. Now, tell me something I don't know. So, the chorus in the music video version just like was a little bit more high energy than in the album version, which is why I kind of like the music video version better. But I think it might have been done for a movie potentially, but I don't know. Again, somebody maybe knows the history and why the production is different. But yeah, that's 13 songs, which is a pretty average length for an album. 13 songs. Album lengths vary from like 10 to like even up to like 15, 16 songs. I think if you're like under 10 songs, it tends to be like an EP. But yeah, I think this is overall my opinions on this album. I think it's a great first album. I think it just like it's very cohesive, and it's for me it's very like a throwback, and it's not bad. Like it's obviously like I think if she put this album out today, it would be like it would be a flop, and people would be like rating it badly. But I think it's very like of its time, and it's very like reminiscent, and it's throwback, and it like brings me back to like when I first was listening to it. And it's got like those throwback vibes, in my mind. And so I think it's a very, very cohesive album, very impressive, I think, for a first album. But I think it has a lot to do with Disney probably curating the sound for her. And I would honestly, I would give it like a 9 out of 10. I would say if it didn't have The Way I Loved You on there, I'd probably say it's a 10 out of 10 because it would feel a lot more cohesive. But that's my review of Kiss and Tell by Selena Gomez. And I hope you guys are liking this podcast. I know I'm just like an average person, so like I'm not like reviewing the lyrics or anything or the technicality or the production aspect overly too much, but I'm just an average person who likes listening to music. I have no like expertise in music. I just think like I really enjoy music and I enjoy listening to it, and I don't listen to it as much as I used to because I obviously have like TikTok and stuff which is like what I tend to watch a lot of. But there was a period where like I constantly had headsets on me, and if you found me, I had headsets and was always listening to something. And so it's like it's just what I was like. So it's why I thought doing a podcast on music would be a great idea. Even though like I don't know if you guys are enjoying it, but if you are, great. I hope you are. So you can subscribe here on Apple Apple Podcasts or on YouTube, wherever you guys are listening / watching this. You can subscribe. And until the next episode, thank you for watching the Pink Mic Club. You can follow the Pink Mic Club on Instagram by going to @PinkMicClub. The Pink Mic Club is a production from Wonder Network. To find more of our productions, go to @WonderAudioPod on Instagram.